Huh? Now, let's be clear. In 1999, no one was doing as good as they could have been doing in hip-hop or any other genre because Napster had just come out that summer. The whole game was on high alert, and everybody was throwing around terms like music piracy, or as we like to call it in hip-hop, bootlegging. But for Jay-Z to call me and explain to me how the odds were stacked against me as a woman when everyone was fighting an uphill battle was ballsy. So I had to show him. To me, it felt more like a challenge than an insult. A battery was immediately put in my back. In that moment, it felt like another male roadblock on my ride to fame. Before my album even touched record store shelves, I had already been through that major label rent cycle of being signed, unsigned, then signed again. All at the hands of men who loved my lyrical talent. Yet if I opened my mouth to voice anything but a bar, I was a problem. My debut album went to #1 on the Billboard 200, making me the third female rapper in history to achieve that feat. It went double platinum, which again, in '99 was hard for anyone to do. But I did it. Take that, Napster. Take that, Jay-Z. So yeah, I channeled my ambitions and frustrations into competing with Jay, or at least Jay's perception of the success of women in hip-hop. And you may find that ironic, but I needed someone that I had to consistently prove wrong. Some might laugh that I chose him. I doubt he would stare at himself in the mirror and ask, what would Eve do? I get it. Look, we all have our own invisible bully, the person we battle in our minds, so to speak. Sometimes it's your coworker always giving you backhanded compliments about your performance in the company, celebrating your wins, yet always making sure to add a caveat. And in many ways, Jay-Z was that coworker and hip-hop was our company. So my innate response was to tip over the proverbial water cooler and flip some desks on the way to the corner office. Jay and I have always been cool, and I'm sure he never even knew what that call did for my drive. Now he does, and I guess I should thank him for it. The reality, though, is he was just a representation of the real bully for me and so many other women, the music industry. Our success stories are always undersold. Even when we're lapping men, we're still called slept on or underrated as a means of keeping us below the industry sea level. For me, it was simultaneously being called the pit bull in a skirt and the underdog. My moves were drowning out those words, but they were still used to keep me down. I'm speaking both for myself and other women here, especially Black women. Telling me that I was going to fail wasn't protecting my fragile female heart from disappointment. It was perpetuating a cycle that I wanted to break. Did I do that? Many times. Sometimes I won, sometimes I lost. But eventually I realized that if the music industry wasn't going to let me be the first woman of their universe, then I had no choice. I had to leave and go build my own. 1. Murder Street. When you look at a map of Philadelphia, it almost resembles the shape of a hand making the peace sign. I guess it's only right that it's called the city of brotherly love, though sometimes that nickname is a little ironic if you ask me. Philly was my home, though, and no matter where I've gone since then, it still is. I was born on November 10th, 1978 at Penn Presbyterian Hospital in West Philadelphia. My mother, Julie, was 17 when she had me and named me Eve Jihan Jeffers. My father, Jerry, was around the same age and played bass in a band. That's how my parents first met. He also used to DJ in my grandmom's basement during the summer. He filled that basement with people, and as a little kid, I'd go there to watch him spin soul records. For the first part of my childhood, my mom's family and I all lived in one apartment in the high rises of the Mill Creek Housing Project in West Philly. You want to talk about a full house? It was me, my mom, my grandmom, my granddad, my Aunt Karen, my Uncle Johnny, and eventually my cousin Takia. I was 6 when she was born. We were packed into a 4-bedroom place where I shared a bedroom with my mom. Aunt Karen and Takia shared a room. My grandparents had theirs, and then my Uncle Johnny had his own. So basically, my whole family lived under one roof. I do have 2 other uncles, my Uncle Jimmy and my Uncle Jeffrey. Uncle Jimmy was in and out of prison for a lot of my life. Uncle Jeffrey wasn't allowed around the house when my granddad was home. I never asked any questions about that. As a little kid, it felt like West Philly was just a whole lot of big buildings on top of other big buildings, including my own at Mill Creek. The story of Mill Creek goes that the 3 high-rise buildings